Hello and welcome, listeners, to another thought provoking episode of Mind Over Matter, where we explore the inner workings of the human mind and how it shapes the way we perceive, communicate, and thrive in life. I'm your host, Sana, and today we are diving into one of the most fundamental questions. What is mind? What is the mind? So, it's a concept that's intrigued philosophers, scientists, and thinkers for centuries. And to help us unpack it, we have a very special guest with us, Mario Visa, a social communication expert, researcher, and author with over 17 years of experience. Right from studying communication across cultures to serving in the military and working in the corporate world, our guest has had an incredible journey of self discovery, listeners, culminating in three powerful books that about communication. And today on Mind Over Matter, Mario is here to help us explore how the mind works, how it impacts the way we connect with others, we communicate with ourselves and others, and why understanding it is crucial for effective communication. So get ready for some deep insights, listeners. So let's quickly jump in. Mario, welcome to the show. And as always, it's an absolute honor having you with us.
You're so kind, Sana. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you.
Um, so, Mario, the term mind, it has been used in so many contexts. We use it in psychology, philosophy, and even casual conversations, day-to-day conversations. So, according to you, how do you define mind in the context of your research and work?
Um, as I was listening to you, I have a pen and paper in my hand, and I literally wrote mind, uh, line under it over matter, like physically trying to create this idea. When we think of what mind is, like you said, this has been a topic of debate for literally thousands of years. And this, just to bring this up to remind us to be humble as we're having this conversation over a podcast for half an hour or an hour to share this information. Whatever we share is going to be a speck in consideration to what the whole topic is.
Yeah.
Um, in the meantime, when I think about what mind is, I almost wonder what is not mind, because mind is not an actual physical entity. It's not like a flower. It's not a chair. It's not the mic I'm using right now. It's not the computer. It's a virtual entity. Hence, it's like a big topic. Everyone sees it differently. I see mind as basically the OS, the operating system that we operate on. It's not necessarily the color of our hair or how we feel in our heart or how tall we are or what are my dreams in like 2 minutes from now or 2 years from now. It's not just one specific thing. It's just the operating system, how we operate overall, how we process, how we perceive information, process them. And some of us process information and label them and frame them in a positive, healthy way, and sometimes we do the opposite. Yet we are still using the same mind, but it's able to do both. Um, One of my favorite quotes, honestly, I really like it. Really old quote that the mind can make heaven out of hell and can make hell out of heaven. I think this is one an amazing way to describe what mind is.
Yes, yes, yes. I completely agree with you, and I think uh, it's such an intriguing way to look at it. So do you think, Mario, most most of the people they truly understand the um, difference, the distinction between the mind and the brain, or is this where the confusion often starts?
I love that you brought this up. It is actually a very common misconception or confusion. Some people feel like when they talk about my brain is this and that, my mind is this and that, they seem to be, they use them as synonyms, but technically speaking, scientifically speaking, they are not. So I love that you brought this up. So true. Brain is literally gray matter, 95% of fat. It has no sensories for like pain. This literally our brain, what we carry under our cranium. The mind, again, is basically the software, the programming, the operating system. And I have noticed from my research, there is a very high level of um, percentage where people confuse the difference between mind and brain, and actually making this distinction and to really understand it and live by it. It actually helps us in so many ways in our life to realize that the mind is something that's virtual and the
Mhm.
brain is something literally physical. That's very clear, very important distinction.
Yeah. Also, very, very interesting part of your journey. You have traveled extensively. You have experienced different cultures and communication styles. So I'm really curious, how do cultural differences shape the way people perceive and use their minds in communication?
So we are familiar with the term mindful.
Yeah.
We all have heard it.
Yes.
Mindfully, to be mindful, to practice mindfulness. The opposite of that is mindlessness. Be being a mindless about what we're doing. Have you ever heard the term brainless? That's almost an insult to
Yeah,
somebody. You are
exactly.
brainless, man. You're like, that's
Yeah.
almost an insult. Just to give you an indication of, again, the distinction between the two. And from my, honestly, from my heart, um, really humble feedback and observation that I made, that it is not a fault of our own, yet some of us,
Mhm.
I'm almost urged to say, most of us actually were not aware, and we are going on about life mindlessly. To elaborate on that, part of my research for about a couple of years, I actually went around and I simply asked people why they do what they do in terms of job, career, family. I just, that's exactly what I ask. Why do you do what you do? And based on the results I received at the very end, I was able to create four different categories of why people do what they do. First category is people do things because they want to survive, pay the bills, put food on the table, just go on about life, just to survive. The second reason is people do what they do because that's what their parents did. That's what
Yeah.
happened in the family. And they're basically continuing on the journey. Number three is the category that is, it's mindless.
Yeah.
Some people are literally mindless going about life. So when I ask, why do you do what you do? The simple response I get is like, what do you mean? Some people actually going about life as not being intentional and creating things on purpose. And that's mindless approach on life. Number three. Number four, the fourth category, mindful people who are doing what they love to do. And even if they live on the street, they will still do what they do career wise, job wise, because they're so mindful of what they're doing, the impact they're causing, and the impact it has on them internally. So some of us, when we are not as mindful, we all go through these phases sometimes. This this impacts us where we are not aware of what is going on the inside of us. We're just going on about life, going to job 9 to 5, come back home, cook dinner, eat, sleep, wake up in the morning, repeat, and just going on and going forth. Mindful is actually where you pause and use the software programming, the OS operating system, and think, how did I do today? How am I going to do better tomorrow? How am I going to achieve my goals and dreams in the next few weeks or few months or few years? That's mindfulness. That's using mind intentionally. So part of my practice in life is yoga and meditation, and we might have talked about this before. Um, Meditation really helps us to cultivate our mind intentionally instead of the mind being cultivated by the external sources. To take charge of this. So, one of the things that we talk about in yoga is to become a master of the mind, not the mind becoming the master of us, which I'm sure many people have heard this before. Well, it's challenging, yet it's really, really rewarding. And instead of the TV example, instead of the TV playing its own channels, its own stations to tell you what to watch, you can actually choose the channel and the station that you want to watch. That's the power of like understanding what mind is.
Wow. Wow. I love the fact that you really divided, segregated everything into categories to explain this distinction very clearly, and how leveraging the power of mind in an effective way can actually, you know, help us redefine everything and take control instead of, any other external sources or any factors taking the control of us. Also, Mario, uh, you were having a quite interesting discussion with one of our hosts on another podcast about interpersonal communication or intrapersonal, and I think the discussion was more about intrapersonal, where we talk to ourselves. So how all this balance of interpersonal or intrapersonal communication, happen, and how does the way we communicate internally or externally influence our relationships, our mindset?
Um, in a really mindful way right now. It's funny I say that mindful way on a mind over matter. In a mindful way, I see. I'm not gonna say synonyms because that means like identical, but that's not how I mean it. Big part of our intra personal communication, which is how we converse and connect and communicate with ourselves. For me, that's pretty much what the mind is, like the internal dialogue that's happening. It's almost like the operating system that you operating on, and the interpersonal communication where you have communication with someone else is like your operating system. Your Windows 11 Pro is intrapersonal communication, and interpersonal communication is like part of your operating system where you send email out. Does that make sense? So
Absolutely.
yeah, so it's like the big picture is like what is going on in my world. That's intra-personal communication. Basically, really, like in a way, the mind. And interpersonal communication is when I send email out, when I receive an email from the operating system. I hope this metaphor makes sense. I never thought of it until now, honestly. Just as I'm sharing with you. Um, to be aware of that, we basically learn to one,
Mhm.
manage our mind intentionally, which I have something funny to tell you about that in a second. Two, manage the gate of the information that's coming in and the information that's coming out. When you check your email, every single email that you get, do you reply to? Not really. You have the choice to reply, you have the choice to archive, you have the choice to remove, delete, and so forth. Um, who named mind? Can you answer that, Sana?
No, I cannot. I cannot. And I'm really feeling like left out. Why didn't I ask this question? Actually, well, it's a really big question to think about. Who named it name? How did it come?
The mind itself named itself.
Could be. Could be.
I mean, honestly, I mean, someone like some scientists reflected on a long time ago, reflected on the human existence and the brain and body organs and decided that mind is something that exists that we cannot really quantify, we cannot measure, we cannot touch, we cannot feel, yet it exists. So someone's mind in the past labeled our own mind. And now we all are using the word mind. And I was going to say we all know what it means, but that's not necessarily true for all of us. Because being mindful and being mindless, it's not necessarily a personality, it's trait, um it's a state that our mind go through sometime. We are very, very mindful of what is going on. Sometimes we're just simply mindless.
Yeah.
And some of us can manage or quote unquote control that. Some of us may not be able to because the mind is literally boundless. And you can see that when you bring two, three, five people together who have a similar mindset, they can make miracles happen. So, where's the mind then? It's not just one mind, it's multiple minds got together and decided to create something magnificent, amazing. So, yeah, the idea of mind, as you said, for centuries and thousands of years is like a big debate. And um, it's crucial. I was going to say it's important. Then I decided to upgrade it to crucial
Mm.
to cultivate the ability to spend time with self and figure out what mind is for you. And once we decide that, you get to choose what to do next.
Yeah.
Awareness.
Correct. Correct. And I love the fact that you use the balance between a computer, its maybe motherboard and the OS, the operating system, because that defines or controls the way it works. It gives the output, the internal processes happen. So I think that is a brilliant parallel to simplify the explanation, the differences between mind and the brain, and also uh, the way we talk with others. And I think I have had so many conversations, so many discussions on this. The way we talk with others, it's fine. We do practice compassion. We do practice, well-being. We communicate very effectively with them. But when it comes to us, ourselves, we often, so many times, have had internal negative self-talks. I'm not enough. I am not good. Maybe this is not for me. I cannot do this. And that kind of dictates our actions. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
we start to hate ourselves. We start to be mindless about everything happening around us. And that
Mm-hmm.
kind of, pushes us into, a very dark state as well. So I think uh, I love that you focused on the connection between self-talk and external outcomes. And also, Mario, if someone who is struggling right now with negative self talk or internal dialogue, because it can have very detrimental outcomes. What's one small shift they could make today to start improving it, to at least start with uh, a bit of encouraging self-talk?
Um, I'm going to talk about something not only classic and well known, yet something that I do practice myself and something that really changed my life, and something that is in some cultures, in some places, is almost a taboo kind of practice, which is talk to yourself in the mirror. I do this. It's very important. Talk to yourself in the mirror. Just talk. If you converse with yourself in the mirror and you get angry, that gives you a reflection of what's going on the inside. If you talk to yourself in the mirror and look yourself in the eye and you get emotional and you cry,
Mhm.
something is coming up that never happened before. If you talk to yourself in the mirror and you can look yourself in the eye and motivate yourself and make a mindset
Mhm.
shift and change how you feel, you are the boss. You are able to do that. The thing is, I'm not talking about personalities or characters or traits here. I'm talking about state of mind. Sometimes we can wake up in the morning and feel like, you know what? Why did I even wake up today? Like, I don't feel so good. And an hour later, something so good happens to us, or have a really deep conversation with someone, or maybe even hug someone that really genuinely cares about us. And that completely shifts our mindset. So when we feel down, we feel low, we feel negative, um, I look in the mirror and converse with yourself. Like, hi, how is your day going? Literally, talk to myself like that. Why are you feeling low right now? What's
Mhm.
going on? What happened a minute ago? What triggered you to feel this way? Now, okay, now we're clear what's going on with you. What can we do now to make it better? How can we move forward? The more we cultivate the ability to talk to ourselves in the mirror, in a helpful, kind, and loving way, we actually practice this in a way where it eventually will spill out on our relationships with other people. Imagine if I'm feeling low and I go in the bathroom, I close the bathroom door, and I look in the mirror and go like, "Hey, what's going on? You're not feeling so good right now." It sounds crazy, but it really works. Imagine practicing that with self. We're able to do this with other people. The reason why I said for some cultures it might be challenging, the culture that I grew up in, which is in Egypt, North Africa, Egypt, Cairo, talking to yourself in the mirror is like a big no-no. It's like voodoo kind of thing. Like, oh no, you hurt yourself, harm yourself, and I understood why they were telling me this at young age, because if you are not cultivating this relationship intentionally, it
Mhm.
can be bad. Imagine looking yourself in the mirror every time and you say, "Oh, you're not good enough. You're ugly. You're not feeling well. No matter how much you try, it doesn't work for you." If you keep doing this over time, it's filling self with poison. So hence we have to be very careful with it. But when we look in the mirror and use empowering communication, empowering language, that really cultivates who we are in the future with time.
Also, as you talked about looking in the mirror and talking to ourselves, uh,
Mhm,
does fear uh you know affects fear of something, let's say there's a huge meeting coming up and I know if I don't perform there I will lose that deal or something, does that fear positively or negatively affect us, uh, because sometimes uh, I have faced these kind of situations before any important meeting or any interview, job interview. I
mhm,
sometimes look in the mirror and say, "Yes, I'm confident. I can do this. I can."
mhm.
But then there's a bit of fear also, which is kind of overpowering uh, the courage there. So, do you think it? is a does it drive motivation, or it destroys everything? It destroys the state of mind.
So, Sana, it's you bringing up something kind of like crucial right now. It really is important. When we talk about fear, um, is this fear, is this a feeling, emotion, or a thought? Some people would think it's emotion. Some people would think it's a thought. You are not wrong. It's just how you see it. Now, um, I, for me personally, a really huge discovery from my research was to realize that thoughts always precedes feelings. Always. Scientifically proven. People can argue about that, but at least for me, that's what I found out. No matter what feelings, emotions, or desires we have, or whatever we have, it's always preceded by thought. What is a thought is a piece of information. What is a piece of information in our own brain is neurons firing together. So, the reason why I bring this up, when we have emotional reaction to something that we are anticipating that might happen or is happening, this feeling that we are carrying right now, there was a thought that came before it. So whatever the thought might be is like, oh, this is my first interview. Oh, maybe I might ask the wrong question. Oh, what if the timing is wrong? It's all thoughts.
Yeah.
What if, oh, what if I say the wrong thing? Oh, what if there's like problem with the internet? Oh, what if I could not understand their accent? What if they could not understand my accent? What if all those just simply thoughts? And these thoughts percolate and it gives us this feeling. So imagine if we show up to um event, a meeting, and literally telling ourselves like, I'm gonna show up. Literally, I'm going to show up. I prepared, I did my very best, and I'm super excited about the event. No matter what happened with this event, I'm going to make the best of it. The other person is doing his or her best, and I am doing my very best. Whether it works or not, it's not the end of the world. It's just one event out of freaking 100 events in one day. So, thoughts, thoughts, to be aware of our thoughts and what we tell ourselves, which is intra personal communication, that's where everything begins. Imagine always thoughts and emotions as an outcome of how we process information, aka also known as thoughts.
Mhm. That's beautiful. That's beautiful, Mario. Great. I'm feeling so bad that we uh had a we have a time constraint, but of course, before we wrap up, Mario, what advice would you give to someone who feels like they are constantly at war with their own mind, struggling with self-doubt, having anxiety, overthinking, or having mental blocks?
Um, I have two suggestions actually. And as we're wrapping up, as you said, with time, number one, if really struggling with self, uh, find someone outside of us who genuinely love us and care for us and spend more time with the person. Because when we spend enough time with someone that genuinely love us, that actually teach us to cultivate that with ourselves. If we're not able to find that, which challenging for some of us,
Mm-hmm.
go in your bedroom, close the door, have a pen and paper with yourself, no music, maybe set the timer for 20, 15 minutes and spend time with yourself. Cultivate relation. But I know I'm asking for something really challenging for a lot of people. That's why I started by spending quality time, loving time with someone else who can give us this energy as we're cultivating it. Um, if that's not an option, cultivate relationship with self by going in your bedroom, closing the door, pen and paper in your hand for 15, 20 minutes, reflect what is going on within me. What would I like to do? What is bothering me right now? What can I do about it? What is the biggest thing that I can tackle in my life right now that will cause a big pivotal change in my life? So, either spending quality time with someone who loves us and care for us genuinely so we can use this energy to harness it for ourselves. Number two, spending quality time with self to cultivate relationship with self, to be kind. Imagine a friend that really close to you that you love and care about, how patient you are with them. Being able to do with this with self is a life-changing experience.
It's really, really practical and uplifting, Mario, I believe. And um, of course, if they would wish to reach out to you, connect with you, how they can do that.
Oh, I was gonna make a joke and say you can just think, sit down, close your eyes, and think about me. But I guess that does not work with the internet.
That was the maybe it should be tried.
My website, www.mariowisa.com, my first name, last name, and also my email, which also my website, MHW, which stands for Mario Halim Wissa, MHW at mariowisa.com. I'm really good at responding to messages within 24 hours or so. So thank you for creating this opportunity, Sana. Appreciate you.
Lovely. That's lovely. We'll have all the details mentioned in the show notes for our listeners. And Mario, thank you. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom, your experiences. You know, I think it was definitely a masterclass in understanding what exactly is mind. And you really have given us so much to, think about, do a bit of self introspection, I think. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much for creating the opportunity, for creating space for me to share. And I'm sure one or two people out there who might hear this and their life might change overnight. Let's hope.
Yeah. Thank you. Let's hope. So great, great. And listeners, adding a bit from my end, the journey to understanding your mind is ongoing. You can never, finish that. It's an ongoing journey, and every step brings you closer to unlocking your potential. So, thanks to all of you for tuning in to Mind Over Matter. If you found today's discussion valuable, be sure to subscribe, share this episode with someone who will need it, and leave a review. Let us know how we are doing. Until next time, stay curious, stay mindful, and always remember that the mind is your most powerful tool. Thank you.